Greetings to you all, gamers and strategists, and welcome back to our channel. A powerful and lasting civilization requires a strong economy, and a strong economy requires a robust industrial base. A robust industrial base requires resources, citizens, factories, and offices. But first of all, it requires a sound understanding of galactic economics. In this episode, we follow the story of the Shrimp Syndicate as they strive to survive in a hostile galaxy, while building themselves into an economic powerhouse to be the envy of all around them. Our story begins on the water world of Coralis, the original spawning grounds of a shrimp-like offshoot of the mantis species, who were almost completely annihilated in a devastating ecological crisis lasting many decades. Famine followed, and their recovery was long, slow and painful. Through force of will, dedication and perseverance, the Shrimp Syndicate arose, now masters of economical resource management and noted for their fine craftsmanship, accumulating much disposable wealth in the process. Waverider and his people are still traumatized by their terrible past, and are ever vigilant against any potential threats to their well-being and safety. Having stabilized the food situation on Coralis, their population is growing once more. More exciting still, a blueprint for hyperdrive technology has been leaked out to the civilizations across the galaxy, and scientists have successfully built the first ships in the Shrimp Syndicate's hyperdrive-enabled fleet. The Shrimps need to increase their industrial output and build more ships if they are to explore the stars around them. However, they are sensitive to ecological damage and greatly fear it, and so factories and refinery development must be kept to a strict minimum. A solution to pollution must be kept in mind at all times. Waverider has decreed that the Shrimps must multiply and spread across the galaxy in search of wealth, happiness and success. And so we turn to Coralis to examine how population grows. Each core world starts with one citizen, or more if it's your starting homeworld, and may house up to its current population capacity given enough food. Each citizen has a growth value, and each month this value is added to a growth counter. Once this counter reaches the next growth threshold, a new citizen is born. Other factors can contribute to this monthly growth rate. We can see here that the pollution on Coralis is currently 7%, and so they're losing 7% of their total growth each month. The shrimps need clean water to live in, as even a small amount of pollution can be distressing. So pollution also affects their approval scores too. They also require manufacturing districts, and various manufacturing improvements to further develop Coralis and build fleets for their adventure out into the stars. But Waverider mandates that Coralis and its sacred spawning pools must be kept free of pollution, and industry is very polluting. Building even moderate industry on their beautiful homeworld is out of the question. What can they do? A core world's planetary input value represents natural resources available for exploitation. We'll examine this in detail later, but for now, all we need to know is that planetary input is processed by districts, special improvements and citizens into planetary output, and each output type of each core world you control is then available for use in building and maintaining your mighty civilization. While probes are sent out to explore the sector, Waverider orchestrates a limited industrial development on Coralis. 3 citizens are trained as workers, raising manufacturing enough to begin construction of some new industrial projects. Most tiles on a world will be better suited to one type of district or another, with some special tiles, like these geothermal springs, granting even larger bonuses. Furthermore, like district and improvement types grant an adjacency bonus too, and so careful management of assets can provide a big boost to your economy. Here, Waverider has constructed a planetary generator improvement in this central location to apply its generous manufacturing and military bonuses to any suitable districts placed around it, with one already built on top of the geothermal springs tile, more than doubling its individual contribution to Coralis' total manufacturing output and boosting the output of the planetary generator, at the expense of some extra pollution. To further increase the manufacturing output on Coralis, Waverider has constructed a research boosting improvement, intending to quickly unlock technologies which will further improve the output of each manufacturing district and allow Coralis to get by with less overall industry, reducing pollution to a minimum. Work smarter, not harder. To get more manufacturing output, the shrimps search the sector for any mineral producing worlds and asteroids that can be fed back to Coralis, improving its mineral input level. These minerals may be further refined into planetary output by districts, improvements and citizens. But what is mineral input? There are 5 base resources generated on colonised worlds: minerals for manufacturing, technology for research, wealth for income, farming for food production, and culture for spreading influence. Each core world has a base level for each input type, with attached colonies and minor worlds adding their own planetary input levels to its total. Asteroid bases also add some extra mineral input too, and big belts of asteroids can be very effective in boosting a world's mineral output. Indeed, Waverider is banking on finding an asteroid belt or two close to his core worlds, along with mineral-rich colonies, to give his limited industry more mineral input to work with as his probes search increasingly further from the Coralis system. Next, economic starbases are to be constructed to increase the manufacturing, research and gross income of the core worlds around them. Unfortunately for the Shrimp Syndicate, asteroids aren't the only things lurking out there in the darker regions of space. They also discover the Drengian Empire, and blood-curdling tales begin to filter back to Coralis, casting a black shadow over the hearts of the Shrimps. Lasting friendship seems unlikely with these malevolent terrors, and with no defensive fleets, the Syndicate are ripe for conquest. Now, more than ever, the necessity for a strong industry drives Waverider and his people forwards. With their southern systems contested by the Drengian Empire, they focus their attentions east and west, hoping to find more reasonable neighbours to trade and exchange technology with. After some initial success in finding the minerals they need, prospecting probes reach the far western reaches of the sector. Here, the Shrimps find a white star with a large asteroid belt and some valuable durantium too. It's too far from their territory to safely claim, but further exploration to find a nearby world to colonise brings them into contact with a strange and dangerous species who thrive in pollution and corrupt everything they touch. Horrified, the Shrimps give up on the mere Placidus and Shulmoth Sol systems, fearing for their beautiful oceans if this dreadful cosmic contaminant were ever to uncover their locations, and retreat back to their own borders. Meanwhile, to their east, another aquatic civilization is found. Mistrustful and suspicious of the Shrimp's slowly growing military force, the Taurians are nonetheless thankful to have a potential trade partner and ally against the evil Drengian Empire, which is beginning to expand its territory northwards. The Shrimps initiate several lucrative trade routes with Tauria and its surrounding worlds, slowly getting to know their new neighbours, and hoping beyond hope that this is not yet another existential threat in the making. Limited communications with the Drengian Empire reveal the existence of another hyperdrive-enabled civilization, the Terran Alliance, a faction of strange mammalians with a reputation for diplomatic outreach and exotic wares. First contact with the Terrans is promising, and their diplomats are friendly, certainly more so than the guarded and overcautious Taurians. Soon, freighters begin to move goods between Earth and Coralis. After colonising the Mambra, Alturf and Aquile systems, and claiming a large and bountiful asteroid belt orbiting the bright red star of Achilles, the Drengian Empire begin to lay their claims on these systems too, and tensions flare. After close consultation with Terran Alliance and Taurian diplomats, Waverider becomes convinced that an inevitable war will erupt within mere months. He examines the Shrimp Syndicate's industrial and economic might carefully, while increasing the output of warships from his shipyards. He also orders the researching of technologies that increase the base research rate of industrial districts to further maximise their industrial output. It's now time to look at how the planetary input and planetary output interact to create the main resources used by a civilization in its day-to-day running. We've shown how planetary input on a core world is calculated. These 5 input values represent raw resources that are then processed by your citizens in the various districts and special improvements on that world. Here's how this works for minerals, the input, and manufacturing, the output. Firstly, we start with the planet's mineral input value, and then we add any flat numerical bonuses from industrial improvements, executive orders, civilization policies, ideological traits, or other feature that adds a static value to the manufacturing total. For example, the planetary generator here adds a flat +1 manufacturing point to the total. Any workers and citizens not assigned to another job add their own contributions to this value too, representing them toiling away in factories and cottage industries on the world. Districts and manufacturing improvements also contribute their own percentage bonuses, as do economic starbases, civilization policies, the effects of various in-game events, faction modifiers, certain commandership abilities and more. The governor of the planet also contributes based on the stat used by the resource type, in this case diligence, to represent their general competency in organising production efforts on world. Finally, the overall approval of the citizens on the core world is applied as a final percentage product to manufacturing output, with a higher approval rating providing a smaller deduction than a lower one. Put more simply, if your citizens are happy, they'll work harder and you'll get more of the resource. But if they're kicking their heels and whispering about you behind your back, your economy can be seriously crippled. Approval is incredibly important in Galactic Civilizations IV Supernova, so keep your shrimps happy. We're now left with our manufacturing output value for the core world. Whenever something is produced on the world, this value is deducted from the total construction cost of the project each month until that cost is paid and the asset is built. The total manufacturing output of your civilization is simply the sum of the manufacturing of all your core worlds, and can be seen here in the civilization overview, along with the other 4 civilization outputs. Let's look at how these other 4 resources are generated, and what they're used for. Research is calculated much like manufacturing, and the sum of all your core world's research is your total planetary research output. This value is deducted each month from your currently selected research project's research cost, achieving a breakthrough once that cost is paid. The higher the research, the faster the breakthrough. A core world's income is calculated a little differently to manufacturing and research. Here, the approval penalty is not deducted. Instead, your core world's summed gross income is your empire's gross domestic product, or GDP. This is added to your trade route income from other civilizations, and that new total is taxed at your current tax rate to produce your revenue. Deductions to revenue are made for ships, colony and starbase maintenance, and civilization policy expenses to give a final net monthly income, which is the amount of credits added to your treasury each turn. When inspecting an individual core world's income value, that figure represents its gross income with the tax rate already applied. Note that adjusting the civilization-wide tax rate directly affects approval, which in turn modifies manufacturing and research. Carefully balancing your civilization's needs between the generation of credits and your manufacturing and planetary research outputs is an important skill to develop. Food is processed from farming input, is not affected by approval, and a positive value here is required for growth on your worlds, at least for citizens that need to eat. The total food value is shared across all your worlds. Finally, influence is generated from cultural input and is also not affected by approval. Influence determines the borders of your civilization and can be used to peacefully convert your neighbours' worlds over to your civilization's superior cultural values. A high influence output will fend off a rival's attempts to encroach on your territory in the same way. The Drengen Empire has become increasingly belligerent and a declaration of war soon follows. The Shrimps have not been idle, carefully expanding their borders to encompass as many resource production assets as possible. While the Taurians and Terran Alliance do not immediately support the Shrimps, neither do they take advantage of the situation, content to continue peaceful trade relations and watch from the sidelines. New trade routes are set up with both civilizations to help fund the Syndicate's war effort. A trade route increases in value the longer it has existed, and as trade freighter captains make stops to buy and sell goods along the way, the longer the trade route, the more lucrative it is too. As an added bonus, long-time trade partners are less likely to declare war, as they value well-established, high-earning trade routes. Waverider takes personal command of building a new fleet to ensure the protection of these new trade routes. A core world's manufacturing output also determines the speed at which a shipyard operates, and is represented by the military resource. Military is further distinguished by its own set of improvements, such as the starport, and is specially modified by various other civilization policies, leader traits, and more. A shipyard's military score is deducted from the cost of a shipyard project each month until its full cost has been paid, and so a bigger military value means faster production of ships, modules, and shipyard missions. Furthermore, the various strategic resources found and collected by mining bases across the sector can be used to build advanced ship weapons, defensive systems, and more exotic components, to give the Shrimps an edge when facing a larger, less technologically advanced fleet. Waverider and his cabinet feel confident that their efforts to secure a variety of these rarer materials will bring them victory in the battle with the Drengen. With the cosmic contaminant creeping ever closer towards their sacred spawning pools, and Drengen ships violating Shrimp territory, all eyes are on Waverider and the Shrimp Syndicate. Will their mastery of ecologically sensitive industrial practices be enough to save their civilization? How would you play the Shrimp Syndicate? In the description below, we've included a link to this civilization in the Steam Workshop, and the Stardock Workshop for Epic Edition players. You'll also find the game settings you'll need to recreate this scenario. Can you save the Shrimp Syndicate from annihilation, transform them into an economic powerhouse, and take your place as the most powerful galactic civilization?